What's next for you? How do you feel? What's going through your mind right now?
Hey there, Must Love MMA and BKFC fight fans. Look who I got in the house today. Chris Sarro, who's fighting at BKFC 9. How are you today, Chris?
Doing awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for taking the time to speak with me. We're getting so close to fight time here, but I still got to ask you, how is training camp coming along?
It's coming together perfect. We're as prepared, as we could possibly be. We're taking all the precautions. We're doing all the work. We just got back from Boston, some hard sparring. We're bringing guys up here. We're heading down there. We're putting in the work. We feel good. We're ready for Biloxi.
All right, and I think the fans are going to be ready for this fight because you've got an interesting opponent in John McAllister. How do you think you match up stylistically with him?
We don't know much on John. We know he's 0-2 professional MMA and a no contest professional boxing bout. If I was to take a guess, I'd say because he chose to go a pro boxing bout after his 2 MMA losses, maybe the guy prefers to stand up, and so maybe that's why he took this bare knuckle contract. All I know is I'm not worried about what John's bringing. I'm worried about what I'm bringing. I'm focused on what I'm bringing to the table that night, and we feel good. We feel we match up well. I don't take anyone lightly. This guy isn't coming to lose. He's coming to win. And I believe that, and so we're taking him dead serious. But we're ready, 100%.
One of the things that I found researching him is that you have a 4-inch height advantage. So does that make an easier fight for you to have that clear height advantage?
I don't think any fight's an easy fight because you got to go out there and knock the soul out of these people, So, and this is a grown man with children, So I don't think it's going to be an easy fight. If anything, some of my toughest fights have been against guys my height or shorter. So, my last opponent, I think he had 8 inches on me, and it didn't, and it worked out well for the shorter guy that night. So I don't think any fight's going to be easy. We're treating this thing like we're going to war. But if anything, I use my advantage. I use my height to my advantage. The way I fight. I fight long, and I'm gifted with my height and my reach, and I take advantage of those gifts. Absolutely, that's my style. We're going to keep them at bay, and we're going to bang them up.
We're going to talk about your last opponent in a little bit, but first I want our viewers to get some information about you because you're coming in with big, heavy, strong hands, and you are a great boxer. But you actually have a solid MMA background, training under, I believe it was Marcus Davis. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Sure. When I was 19, I'm 31. When I was 19, I found Team Irish in Bangor under Marcus Davis. When he was ranked at the time, he was ranked 8th in the world in the UFC in the welterweight division. I met Marcus right before he fought Paul Taylor. One of the best fights. MMA examples of a solid mixed martial artist competition that you could find, and that's right when I met Marcus, when he was at his peak, and he was just on this tear. I think he went almost 8 fights, almost 8 wins in a row in the welterweight division, and that's when I joined on. When I was 19, I had almost 4 solid years of Muay Thai, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, boxing with all these guys, and this was back before it was legal in the state. And so I've been in this for a long time. I blew my rotor cuff out, when I was 22. I came back when I was 24 after the birth of my son. It was a year after, once my son turned 1 year old, that I had my first fight at 25 years old for Wyman's Boxing. But a long training with boxing over these years, I've kept right up with my kickboxing. Every time I go to New York, if I go to Gleason's or Connecticut, I make sure to get my Muay Thai training in, whether it's the Evolution Muay Thai or the Watt Phil Nurse's gym. So I've been right steady along. I love all of it. I love it all. I just come from a boxing background, so, I wanted to compete as a boxer to carry on the legacy of my family,
And speaking of that, fight fans, it's sort of in your genes, shall we say, Chris. So tell the story about your family and how they too come from a very, very historic boxing background from my home state of Connecticut, by the way.
Absolutely. both my great grandfather on my father's side and my mother's father, my grandfather on my mother's side, were both Golden Glove boxers. My mother's father, Charles Wilkinson, was a New York Golden Glove, and then my father's grandfather, Grandpa Sarro, he was a New England Golden Glove. He fought Midge Renault, who was a famous gangster from New Haven area. And my grandfather fought him and beat him, and everyone was afraid of what was going to happen. They ended up becoming great friends and stuff, and were friends, the rest of their lives. But they boxed at a Grand Avenue in New Haven, a rough area and stuff. Where I was fortunate to get to go box at Ring 1 in New Haven, a few years back, and so we just wanted to carry on the legacy. I'm 31. I know I believe it's 32, the cutoff for the Golden Gloves. I wanted to get those gloves. Carry it on. Maybe my son someday, hopefully he doesn't. Maybe he wants to go that same route, but I won't stop him if he does. But he's 7 years old, my boy Keenan, and so we'll see. But I wanted to at least carry that on. I grew up with stories from my father and my grandmother, my Nana Rita, and telling me stories of just my grandfather's being Golden Gloves, and I just looked at it as this such an honor,
Absolutely.
I thought they actually made the gloves gold when I was 7. But they might as well, because that's what it felt like the night that I won them. It was a beautiful thing. I had my family in the building that night.
Amazing.
I wanted that since I was 7 years old. So yeah.
Now, I want to get back to something you mentioned earlier, because you've trained at Gleason's, and you have trained with some of the bigger league people, so to speak, if we were talking baseball. But you have an amateur record of 20. At 25, you made the switch, but you have an amateur record as well of 7 wins. Is that right?
Right, 7-1. Yep.
So talk to me a little bit about your amateur record and some of the fights that you were involved in as an amateur.
Sure. I mean, my first fight, we drove 8 hours to Windsor, Vermont, from Ellsworth, Maine. I fought that night. I fought Denton Jevitt. It was a tough first fight, but I knew I was not losing that night. I didn't know how I was winning. I just knew I wasn't losing, and which was a big thing for me that night, because that's a quality I carry on into every fight. I just go through it knowing I don't know how I'm winning, but I know I'm not losing, and that's for damn sure. And so Denton was a tough first fight. I went on. I fought a lot of tough guys. Ramon Stantville, I fought twice, and that's how I got connected with Glenn Cugno from Lewiston. Cugno's boxing, was fighting his guys, and that's how in New England it's so tight. You end up fighting before you become friends with them. You meet their coaches, and everyone works together. It's a real. I love the boxing community in New England. It's always been a real tight knit community and professional. They put on class events, and I worked my way on up. I ended up moving down to Auburn, about 2 years ago, and boxed under Glenn Cugno. Cugno's boxing, the Gamache gym, and Joey Gamache's gym. Great people, class, boxing there, good quality coaching, and what they do for the inner city kids down there, it's amazing. It was an awesome thing to get to see. And then Glenn, he helped me through the ups and the downs, the thick and the thin, and got me to the glove. We fought 2 guys. We fought Sebastian Taft was the first fight. These guys had over 100 pounds on me. I fought 2 guys in 1 week. One guy had 110 pounds, and the next guy was 337. I was 210 pounds.
Crazy.
I fought them both, beat them. We got the Northern New England Golden Gloves, and tweaked my thumb a little bit in that last fight. We couldn't go on to Lowell, but we won the Northern New Englands, and for me, it's Golden Glove. These are tough. These are big boys. I had to fight 2 guys with 100 pounds on me in 1 week, beat them both decisively. And, and from there I moved back here and moved back to Ellsworth. And, my ex told me if I signed a pro contract, because she knew it was going to lead to BKFC, that she'd leave me. And so I moved back here. I signed the contract, and life's been great ever since. I can't complain.
Speaking of BKFC, you have a really interesting story that I want you to share with our viewers as to how you got involved in the promotion.
Sure. I talked with Dave. I had a buddy back here in Franklin, right outside Ellsworth, send me a clip from BKFC 1. Rico Rodriguez was the main event. And he goes, Sarro, you could get into this, man. You know, it's guys with good hands, but there's clench work. You punch with the hand you're not grabbing with, and I think you'd be good at this. And I'm like, all right, Johnny, let me, check it out. I watched the event. I was like, yeah, I'm down. I messaged Dave Feldman, and he got right back to me. This was back in the beginning, and Dave got right back, and he was like, okay, let's do this. He was working with me, and he was trying to get me in through Casper, Wyoming, and I know Mississippi at the time. There's just no commission would allow someone to fight. They didn't have one pro fight. And this was before he had tryouts, and at the magnitude he is just a year and a half later. I mean, that Artem Lobov, Jason Knight fight, the Malinaji fight that they're putting on in the last year and a half. Now Vanderlei Silva, Hector Lombard, Fabricio Verdum, Charles Bennett, Phil Baroni, you can go on and on with the names. It's insane just in a year and a half time. Now we're coming on BKFC 9. And so I went and I moved back here because things just weren't working out down in Auburn. I came back here, started fresh. I lost my best friend, and it was a big turning point in my life.
I'm sorry.
It was a hard thing. It's a day-to-day, minute-by-minute thing. And I came back here, and I needed a focus. I needed something to zero in on and to get me through that. It's nothing that you get through. It's a lifelong thing. But this was something that Jake always wanted, Jake Sinclair. This is something that he always, we used to go on and on about. What if I went pro and went this route? And, he's been with me through everything, that guy. And so I had to do this. When I came back here 2 days later, I called Matt and I messaged Matt Peterson from NEF, and I said, who do you got? And he goes, Ross Hill, 4-2. And I go, I want it. I think it took 13 seconds to say, yep, let's do it. And they brought me in as an underdog. I know they did, because who am I? I'm 7-1 as an AM boxer. I'm 0-0 as a pro. He had 4 wins, and all 4 wins came by first round finish. And we took him out, first punch, boom. And that's how I got into BKFC. We knocked Ross out. All respect to Ross Hilton. He's a tough class opponent, but it just wasn't his night that night. And that's the game we're in. And Dave was the first one I messaged. I said, hey, I got the win, first round, first punch, first minute, knockout, walked off. And he said, okay, we're going to sign you. We'll talk Monday. And then I got the 3-fight deal.
Good for you. Congratulations. I'm a bare knuckle fan. I just can't tell you, I can't get enough of it. I'm a little too scared to get in the squared circle myself, but I do attempt to do some sparring when I can, and I do love boxing as well. Fight fans probably want to know something that I found very interesting on Instagram, because I like to scour the internet and look for various stuff that humanizes our fighters. And Chris, I know you've got good hands when it comes to boxing, but I also found that you have some really interesting artistic hands when it comes to painting. So tell me, is that a professional job that you do, or is that a side thing? And which of the favorite pictures on Instagram are your favorite subjects to paint, or just your favorite subjects at all?
Sure. I mean, I've been an artist since birth. So that wasn't like a choice. That's just who I am. That's a part of me. I'll always be an artist. If anything, I'd say I haven't been picking up the paintbrush these last few months as often, just because we're taking this career dead serious. I mean, it's 100%, focused on John McAllister on the 16th. But no, art's just a part of me. That's what I did, pretty much for a living the past 7 years. To carry me through my amateur career was I was a commercial artist. I did murals everywhere, up and down the Northeast here. I worked as a commercial artist, and I did commission work. I'd have towns come to me that they want a mural done, downtown or in a store or in a diner, in a restaurant. So many, it's a blast. It's a part of my life, but I never shut off that switch. It makes up who I am. You get a little bit of your mind, your body, your soul. And I get the body and the mind and the soul from the fighting and from my art. So I benefit, all around from it. It helps me. I mean, fighting is no different. When I'm out there in that ring, like a blank canvas, and I'm just painting it, I'm different painting every time, and usually the color's red. But it's a part of me. It's what makes me, makes life interesting to me is, we're all on an even playing ground here. I'm no better than anyone else. We're all on the same level. That just helps make my life a little more unique. Add some color.
Very unique.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite piece of artwork that you have on Instagram that you're just so proud of that you can talk a little bit about?
Sure. I have a few. I mean, probably the one that I'm the most proud of is the work I did on Tideway Market. You'll see it's a picture of me sitting on the ground, and I have 4 massive, now 5. I incorporated, Jacob in the 5th and final piece that seals Tideway. But Tideway overall is a 38-foot by 8-foot exterior fine art. It was a very interesting process. We used a lot of high-end products, and we sealed that thing with 8 coats of polyurethane,
wow.
UV protection, and it basically depicts Down East Maine in 5 massive paintings. The one on top is 8 foot by 16 foot long, and it's all done on MDO 3/4 inch plywood with
crazy.
And it's set for life, but in 5 different pieces of art. You have 5 iconic images that represent Down East Maine and the working class here. You have everything from lobstermen, the blueberry industry, the fishing industry, the clamming industry. Some of our lighthouses on there, some of the carriage roads in the Acadia National Park and the waterfalls. This place is beautiful here. We're really gifted with what we have around here, and it's a lot of hardworking people that make up this community. So that's probably what I'm the most proud of, I'd say, out of all of them. That was my biggest accomplishment. It's a lot of work, but honestly, I love it all. Each piece I go into, I make it my number one, and that's what makes them all special and stuff. So it's hard to say which one's my favorite, but if anything, the one I'm most proud of, I'd say Tideway Market. That was a big turning point in my career as an artist. But like I said, that's just a part of who I am. I'm going to be an artist when I get out there on the 16th. That's a different form of art to me, but it's all the same thing. I'm using the same part of my brain. I'm being creative. I'm thinking. But it's a little more violent.
I like that. I like that analogy, boxing as an art form. That's very good. I'm going to have to keep that in my thoughts in the future because you've really kind of generalized that for me. I would not have thought that. And I think it's interesting for the viewers to see that other side of you as well because, if they go to Instagram, let's just go way to the bottom, they see all these great hard-hitting shots, which you should go to Chris's Instagram, and we're going to make Chris give his Instagram out to see some of his great boxing. You can also catch him at BKFC 9. That's going down November 16th in Biloxi, Mississippi. And you can get your tickets at www.bareknuckle.tv. Chris, I wanted to also ask you, before we go today, is there anything else you want to add to this interview, please?
Sure. I mean, I want the people at Down East Maine in this area to know that you don't have to. I'm not leaving to make this happen. I'm making it happen right here in this town. And I come from a pretty, I'd say a rough background. And I got into this fighting game. It saved my life. The birth of my son and boxing saved my life. I got this tattoo above my chest for a reason, a pair of boxing gloves, and my son's birthday. Those are the 2 things. If I hadn't gone that route, I probably wouldn't be here today. And there's a lot of other people in that boat in this area. This is a rough area to grow up, and it's very rough. You gotta have some thick skin to grow up here. And I just want people to know that I don't have to leave. There's some people that had to leave to make it, and it's like I don't have to leave, and I am gonna make it. And I want kids to be able to see that in this area, so they know, hey, if he can do it, and they know my story. From here know my story, then I can do it too. And that to me is way more important than just the sponsors and the attention. That's all part of it. That's great, but that's not why I'm in this game. Not at all. I feel I've been given an opportunity, and I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to waste it. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to take full advantage of it. I'm going to treat it like something special, and we're going to do it all from Ellsworth, Maine. Absolutely. That's all I can get out there. That I'm happy with that stuff. But we're going to go knock this guy out, and all respect to my opponent, but he's going to have his hands full that night. that is the God's honest truth. I pray for him. And I don't wish him any permanent harm, but we're bringing that W home. That's for sure.
What a generous, spirited soul you are, Chris, because I think that you are going to be a great role model for people from your small town so that kids can see that they can accomplish great things from that area.
Absolutely.
All right, fight fans, you can catch BKFC 9 Saturday, November 16th at the Mississippi Coast Coliseum. And as I mentioned, you can get tickets at www.bareknuckle.tv. As always, I will be there at BKFC 9, bring you all the news and all the action going down on that card. Also, help a girl out. Share this video, like it, subscribe it. Send me a question to ask Chris at BKFC 9 because we'll be there. Chris, good luck at BKFC 9.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.